What makes you say you're living for 300 years? Because I've heard you say something like that about going to live on to, or going to living for past up to 300 years. So I want to know, the first question I want to know in that respect is, why do you need to live for 300 years?
I am still going to demonstrate, because when you ask me this question, I just remember right now that I'd actually answered this question for myself, not the question, not the sub questions, but the general question. But I will, and I've put them in a slide. So we're going to look at this. I mean, look for the slides, and after after I finish answering the questions of the sub questions, then I'm going to show the slides just to show people, to let people see, a picture of my mind and how my mind works. But the first question you ask right now is that why do I need to live
for
300 years?
Yes, into the future.
Well, 300 years is the minimum that I could see right now, but I actually plan to live for more than 300 years. Okay. So why do I need to live for 300 years? Yeah. The very elementary and simple answers to that, the answer to that is the fact that God himself that I serve is not a matchlight God. That's just, you have a matchbox and you pick up a matchstick and you don't just and it's not the candle God. That's, it could be there for 1 year or a few years and it's burnt off. God is an everlasting God. God is an eternal God. And anything that God does lasts forever. The Bible says that his works are built on truth and righteousness, and they last forever. So God is always doing things from the perspective of durability and duration, durability and eternity as well. Now, it's very almost impossible for a man to have the durability of eternity, but at least we will not be cut short like most people live. I don't believe that life is supposed to be like flower. Flowers, when you see flowers, it doesn't matter how beautiful flowers are, but flowers are, like I have flowers, you have flowers there, and those flowers, you cut them, they are blossoming today, and then tomorrow you cut them, you give them as a gift, and in the next 2-3 days, that flower is withered and is wasted and thrown away. That is how many people's life is like. They don't have durability. They don't have suspendability. It doesn't have stamina to live. It doesn't look like a life. Life in its essence is not supposed to be like flower, especially if it carries the life of God. Anybody that carries the life of God shouldn't live and die off like grass, like flower, like grass, like flower, grass. That is what Solomon was trying to portray when he spoke about our days are like grass and like flower that passes away. Today blossom and tomorrow. But that is not the optimal will of God for us. That is not the way God would like it to be. Because it's like you are blossoming now. People who are, some of our family members, our wives, our husbands, our family members, our parents, that we see when they were just partying, rejoicing and blossoming. Then the first thing you see is that they are dead. And the tragedy is not even that the fact that they are dead. We are all going to be dead. But the tragedy is the fact that they are dead and forgotten. They've disappeared into the oblivion, as if they never was here. They never were here, unless you go to their burial ground and just remember them once a year and their death day. No, that is not the optimum plan of God for us. I think that the plan of God is that life should have a maximum impact and maximum durability and maximum effect here on earth. So, and you have seen, if you look at, that's why we have history, that's why we have textbooks, that's why we have universities, that's why we have quotations. Why? Because there are some individuals like me who have thought of their lives and have thought that their lives should have more meaning than just the time when they are on the earth. their life should have more meaning than just a few years after they are dead. That they have programmed their lives in such a way that their lives is still benefiting us today. When you think about people like Julius Caesar, we are still talking about him today. When you think about people like Abraham Lincoln, we are still talking about them today. When you think about people like Isaac Newton, we are still talking about them today. We are talking about all these people who have lived years, hundreds of years back. But that is an example of quality life. So why do I want to live, for 300 years? I think I will going to live for more than 300 years. I plan to live for at least 300 years. That's the minimum. 300 to 500 years, that's what I can see already. And I already put in place program and systems in place to make me live 300 to 500 years. But I think I'm going to live for more than that, because I am looking at my value as my life as something extremely valuable. And if this life is really as valuable as I think, then it must be able to give birth to something sustainable as well. So if I'm not planning to make my life sustainable, if I'm not planning durability of my life and the length of that life, it means I don't value it means the value that I stick to my life is too small. So I don't want my life to be such an insignificant thing that I don't think about how it's going to be tomorrow, even after I'm dead. For me, life is so condensed, and is so it's so loaded, and it's so heavy, it's so valuable that it demands to be thought about. But most people that are forgotten, why is it that they are forgotten? Because they are living for today, and they are living their life in such a way that they don't think of tomorrow. But I am living my life in such a way that I'm thinking not just of tomorrow, I'm thinking of day after tomorrow, and I'm thinking of years and years in the future, and how to make this life, which is God's investment, to yield as much profit for God and for eternity as much as possible. So God created me. So we've seen the example. That's one point I made. Number one point is that God is eternal. So I'm going to make, and God is durable. So I'm going to make my life to be as durable as much as possible. Maybe it's going to be eternal in heaven, but on earth, it's going to be as durable as much as possible. That's number one. Number two, quality of life. The value that you attach to your life is what makes you to think about the durability of that life. If you don't attach value to your life, of course you don't care what will happen to your life afterwards. But do I care what will happen? Because I attached value to it, because this life comes from God. And I've seen the example of other men as well. Ordinary men, the mediocres, they think that it's just by accident that people live. They are remembered like Shakespeare and other people. They are remembered just by accident. Solomon and David. No, it's not by accident. It's because they did something with their lives. So I plan to do something so wonderful with my life. I plan to program my life to live such a quality life as those people that we read about. Paul, Timothy, all the people, biblical and even human heroes, if they could live that quality of life that we are still reading about them, that we are thinking about them, talking about them, studying about them, well, why should I? They already have the example. It's one thing if I never had the example, but if I have the example, it will be foolish for me to live a less quality life, a less valuable life than them who have already shown me the example that you don't just have to cease existing when you die, that you could still be living 300, 500, 1,000 years after you are dead. Since I have those examples, well, I'm going to learn from those examples. And that's why I'm putting my life and living my life in such a way that it will be one of those lives that people will study thousands of years after I'm gone. So that's another reason. But the third reason is that Jesus is my model. Jesus is my example, and I learn from him. And his life is not just a life that was released from heaven to the earth, for 33 years and it's forgotten. Jesus is not been forgotten 2,000 years later, and Jesus' life is still as relevant as any other person living today. Jesus keeps on living today. Well, he lives in me. He's my example. I model my life after him. So if that is the only example, if that is the only example that I have, I think that is enough a reason for me to be able to do the same thing. So I model my life after him. If Jesus could live for 2,000 years and is going to live forever, not just in heaven but on earth as well, I must also be able to live a quality life in such a way according to the order and example of Jesus, so that I too will be living hundreds of years after I'm gone, just like Jesus. So there are so many reasons for me to be able to want to live for hundreds of years, because that is, I'm thinking about life. I see myself personally as an expert in life, in the studies of life, in understanding life. And because I'm a student of life, I'm a student of how to understand life and what life is all about. And because of what I've known about life, because of how much I know about life, I must not leave it to die off like candle dies off, to die off like flower dies off. I must live it in such a way to be sustainable like Jesus' life was sustainable, to be sustainable like Paul's life was sustainable, to be sustainable like all the people, the great people like were Abraham Lincoln, and all the people that were Abraham, Lincoln, right? And all the people, Benjamin Franklin and all these people that we are talking about, they have lived a quality life that their lives are sustainable even hundreds of years after they are dead. I am going to be in their league, and I know what to do for that. And that's why I don't expect most people to understand what I'm doing right now. I don't expect a lot of people to understand my methods. I don't expect everybody to understand my language. I don't expect everybody to understand what I'm doing and my style and my motives. But I know what I'm doing, and I'm going for it. So you see, that book is written, Who Will Attend Your Funeral? Well, that is that book I wrote, and I'm talking about that in that book. That everybody should try to live such a way. Leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave my footprint in a big way. I want the footprint to be so big, to be so large, that it will be difficult and almost impossible to be ignored by the following generations. Just like Martin Luther King and Martin Luther King Jr. and Martin Luther, the reformer. Just like the people that I admire, people that I see myself to be their contemporaries, they are people like that. And they are still living today, even though they have been dead years back. And I am modeling my life in such a way that I'm doing everything today, not for today. So anything you see Dr. Sunday Adelaja doing today is not for today or I'm doing them. I am doing what I'm doing today for the next 100, 200, 300 years. So the people don't need to understand that, but it's important that I understand what I am doing. Hello everybody, DSA here. I would like us to spread this word together. Let the gospel of the kingdom conquer the world. We only need you to help us take 5 simple steps. What are these steps? 1, go ahead and like the video, please, if you have not yet done that. Number 2, we need you to subscribe to this channel. Have you yet subscribed? You not yet done it? Go do it now. Number 3, you need to press and click on that bell. You see the bell there? That will give you notification of every video that we do. Then the next thing you need to do, write your comments. Let's know what you think, good or bad. And then of course you have other platforms like Instagram, like Facebook. Share this video on your other platforms. All right? Let's win the world for Christ. Peace.